When we look at our personal carbon footprint, we usually discover that our driving, our use of automobiles is one of the major contributors to our carbon footprint, our impact on the environment. And therefore, many of us are interested in new vehicles that would allow us to have a smaller carbon footprint and also give us a smaller gasoline or fuel bill for transportation. There are three types of innovative automobile options. One is electric vehicles, a second is fuel cell vehicles, and a third is using natural gas as a vehicle fuel. We'll explore each of those pretty carefully, and we'll begin by looking at electric vehicles. We've already spent some time looking at hybrid electric vehicles. Hybrid electric vehicles are not electric vehicles. They're not classed as electric vehicles. They have both a gasoline engine and electric motor, but they get all of their energy, all of their forward motion is based on consumption of gasoline. Therefore, they're not electric vehicles. They're not getting anything directly from, say, being plugged into being charged up by the power grid. So when we look at a hybrid electric vehicle, we can see, say in this diagram, that there's a gasoline engine, electric motor, a battery, and a gas tank. So basically we fill the gas tank and the rest of the system is a way to use the electric motor and the gas engine efficiently to make the most efficient use of our gasoline fuel input. There are many HEV models. The Toyota Prius is one of the most successful and widely seen HEVs. This is a good kind of one to keep in mind. This costs around $22,000. Gets at around 48 to 50 miles per gallon and has a reasonable level of horsepower. So this is kind of a standard against which we can compare other advanced vehicles. Closely related to HEVs are plug-in HEVs or PHEVs. And these are vehicles which have a big battery pack and have a charging unit so that you can plug the vehicle in at night, for example, and charge up the batteries so the batteries are ready to go in the morning, and therefore you can run part of the time on pure electricity. And then there's also, this is a hybrid, so there's also a gas tank, so you can run part of the time then on gasoline and the hybrid normal capabilities. So this is a plug-in hybrid, gives you a all-electric possibility during part of the drive with this vehicle. For several years, there have been aftermarket kits where you could take your Prius and add additional batteries and change the electronics so that you could have a plug-in Prius. Toyota has offered last year a factory-made basically version of this. So this is a Prius with additional batteries. It's called the Prius PHEV. You get 11 miles on a charge, so you could run the first 11 miles of the day can be totally electric, and then after that you kick into the normal hybrid mode. So this is a pretty good compromise for people who might have fairly short trips during the day. They can be running a pure electric part of the day and then have an efficient HEV for longer trips. The Chevrolet Volt is a very interesting electric option. It can either be classified as an electric vehicle or a PHEV, a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle. And the way it works is you plug it in at night and this charges the batteries. The batteries then can be used to run the vehicle for about 38 miles on that charge. At the end of that distance, the gasoline engine on board kicks on and begins to charge the batteries. So the gasoline engine doesn't actually drive the vehicle. Instead, it gives an extended range to the electric batteries by recharging them. So if you say typically during the day going to be running less than 38 miles, then this runs just like it would be a total electric vehicle. However, for long trips, if you want to drive to California and back, you can run this like it was a gasoline vehicle or HEV. So it kind of takes the worry out of the compromise or the short range of an electric vehicle. So it's an extended range electric vehicle, or is the PHEV, either way you want to classify it. A battery electric vehicle, or all electric vehicle, or usually just called an electric vehicle, is a vehicle with no gasoline engine, no gas tank. This only has electric motor and a large battery pack and a charger so that you can plug this into a wall socket at night, charge it up, and then it can run for whatever distance its batteries will allow it to run. So this kind of vehicle uses no gasoline, uses only electricity. The most successful electric vehicle available now is the Nissan Leaf. This is a electric vehicle that is now with tax incentives from the federal government. You can buy for about $21,000, so it's quite low priced. It will give you an annual fuel savings compared with a gasoline vehicle of about $1,000. The only kind of catch to this is it has a fairly small range of about 73 miles. So if you're going to be running during a typical day less than 70 miles, this would be a great vehicle. Seems to me this is a really excellent second vehicle for a family that wants a gasoline vehicle for long trips, but would like to have a urban vehicle. This seems like, at the price, a great deal. If you have a lot of money and you want a really nice car that is a high-performance vehicle, it's hard to beat the Tesla Model S. This costs, with the federal incentive, about $55,000. It's pretty expensive. It has an annual fuel savings of $1,000, and it has a good range. By the EPA standards, about 265. Tesla would say that it's even longer than that. So this is a high-performance vehicle with a long range. It gets there by devoting quite a bit of space to battery and high-tech batteries within the vehicle. This is a really interesting time for electric vehicles. There's some very good electric vehicles on the market. They do have their limitations, and the biggest problem, of course, is range, limited range. The other issue is an environmental issue, and that is when you recharge your electric vehicle, where does that power come from, and what impact does the generation of that electric power have on the environment? If that electricity that's being used to charge the vehicles comes from burning coal, clearly this is not going to be a net good environmental impact. If, on the other hand, the electricity is going to come from wind or other renewables, or perhaps even from nuclear power, then EVs may represent a very good benefit for the environment. A very different kind of vehicle is a fuel cell vehicle. Fuel cell vehicle uses hydrogen gas as a fuel. The fuel goes into the fuel cell, which produces electricity. The electricity is then used to run an electric motor. This is quite efficient, and there is, as you notice, there is no gasoline engine. It's a vehicle run entirely on hydrogen gas, and it uses the hydrogen gas to run the fuel cell to produce electricity to run the electric motor. So no gasoline engine, no gasoline tank. The only fuel here is hydrogen gas. The fuel cell or fuel cell stack is called a stack because it's a stack. It's a series of fuel cells put together to give you higher voltages, kind of like a series of batteries. The fuel cell stack is the heart, of course, of the fuel cell vehicle. This is a technology that's still in the development stage. There are fuel cell vehicles out there. There's certainly fuel cells that have been part of the space program. So it's a technology that's been around for a while, but to get it so that it's economical and reliable for transportation is still a research and development project for companies that are interested in this technology. The remarkable thing about fuel cells is that they're very clean burning. You put in hydrogen gas, this produces electricity in the fuel cell, and the only waste product within the vehicle is water. So it's very clean, so there's no combustion taking place. So this isn't like a gasoline engine. There's no combustion. It's a totally chemical process that doesn't release any emission products in the vehicle. Even though there are no fuel cell vehicles for sale, in some states you can lease a Honda FCX Clarity fuel cell vehicle at a yearly basis. And this is for people who want to drive an innovative vehicle and be pioneers in this field. One of the problems with fuel cell vehicles is that you can't store very much hydrogen fuel on board. You have to compress it, and you can only get a couple of 100 miles of range from that. There's no technology right now that would give you greater range, and therefore you would need hydrogen fueling stations, a network of hydrogen fueling stations to make this kind of practical. So infrastructure would be a problem for fuel cell vehicles. Another problem is the source of hydrogen. Hydrogen gas is not something that we can drill into the ground and pump out and put in pipelines. It's a secondary fuel. We can produce it in two ways. You can begin with natural gas and reform natural gas to make hydrogen gas and release CO2 in that process. So even though there isn't any emission at the tailpipe of the fuel cell vehicle, there is in the process of making the fuel. The other way to make hydrogen fuel is use electrolysis of water, and this involves energy. If the energy were to come from a coal-burning power plant, this could be a fairly dirty way to produce hydrogen gas. So the hydrogen fuel source is an issue. So if fuel cell vehicles were to become practical, one question is, what would be the impact on the environment? If the fuel cell hydrogen gas were made with electricity from coal, the emission of CO2 would be quite high. If, on the other hand, the fuel cell gas were made from reforming, it could be a fairly clean process. So the question is, what would be the most practical in terms of producing hydrogen for consumers? And you can see even here that fuel cell with hydrogen from reforming doesn't do an awful lot better than a normal hybrid using gasoline. Another option is to replace in vehicles gasoline with natural gas, compressed natural gas, CNG. And there are quite a few vehicles on the road that do exactly this. So there are fleets of compressed natural gas vehicles, and this is a fairly practical technology. So we see here a diagram of a natural gas vehicle, and what's really distinct about this is it has a big tank for compressed uh, natural gas, so CNG. One of the CNG vehicles that's available is a Honda Civic CNG. It has okay fuel economy, it has a pretty good range. Because there aren't a lot of CNG stations in the United States, almost all compressed natural gas vehicles are parts of fleets of trucks or cars that a company would have, and they would maintain their own compressed natural gas stations. Clearly, the big advantage of compressed natural gas is cheap compared to gasoline. This map shows locations of CNG stations, and you can see if you're on the East Coast or you're in California, the options are pretty good for CNG. But if you're in many other parts of the world, so if you were in Montana, for example, CNG station might not be available, and CNG might not be a good option. Liquefied natural gas is a way to compress, if you like, more natural gas into a tank. And this is used by 18-wheelers. So big trucks would have the equipment on board to be able to take on a liquefied natural gas load and keep it liquefied. And this seems to be a very economical and reasonable technology for 18-wheeler cross-country shipping. And so there's been a proposal to put in a lot of LNG stations in order to make cross-country transportation using LNG practical. Because 18-wheeler can basically get by with 600 miles between fill-ups, and this could be possible with the right network. It's interesting that when you put some of this together, you can see that these advanced vehicles, which look quite promising, electric vehicles I think look quite promising, and natural gas vehicles look quite promising for the future. Well, both of these depend in different ways upon available cheap and abundant natural gas, which is right now coming from shale formations through fracking. That is, the EVs would depend upon clean electric power. A lot of that could come from natural gas burning power plants. And of course, for natural gas vehicles, either using compressed natural gas or LNG, that depends upon plentiful and inexpensive natural gas. So we're entering a kind of interesting future where transportation may be very natural.